Andy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What did you decide? Did you hold that letter?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting here. Yeah, I still have it.
Okay, we can do it tomorrow morning. That's fine. I just thought if we didn't have a quorum, we might still send it because I don't think it has any new information in it. Okay, well, I guess we will just sit tight and wait for the teeming hordes to arrive, right?
Yeah. Give them a couple of minutes. They're always fashionably late.
Okay, thank you.
We have quorum with Molly joining.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the EMC meeting. Let's begin with review and adoption of the September 14th meeting summary. Are there any additions or corrections? If there are no additions and corrections, can I have a motion to approve as drafted?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Thank you so much. Now, if you all don't mind, let's just assume that voting negative unless you want to raise your hand or voice a negative vote. Any negative votes? Any abstentions? Okay, we will consider the summary approved as drafted. The first item on the agenda is EMC appointments. And I was going to ask Andy to tell us what he knows about what may or may not be going on with that.
Yeah, so I don't have any new information to share. I've reached out to the mayor's office, expressed some concerns in regards to where we are with the appointments to the commission right now. And also that there have been some issues in terms of folks being able to get their applications submitted. So have not heard back yet from the mayor's office on what their plan is or what their thoughts are on, how that's going to get resolved or what their suggestions are. I'll just have to continue to follow up until we get some type of a response. But unfortunately, I don't have anything new to share on that.
There was a suggestion that maybe we could stimulate some activity by providing a list. And when I spoke to the rest of you, a little over a month ago, we did generate a number of names of people that different ones of you thought might be good on the commission. And I think that if you all are comfortable, we might go ahead and empower Andy to take a look at the list and perhaps communicate the list with the mayor's office in addition to anybody else that you guys have in mind or think might be helpful. I had written something that we sent to the mayor's office that kind of suggested some of the different types of people that people with different kinds of expertise, not like different varieties of people that might be useful on the commission and that had been really valuable on the commission in the past. And if you want, we could resend that to you all, and you could think again if you know someone in your network that has some of that kind of expertise that might be willing to serve. I don't know. I just don't know what more we can do except present something like that to the mayor's office. Andy, do you have any other thoughts?
No, I think that would be one way to go. I mean, a letter even from the commission to the mayor directly, just, stating that, you're where we are with appointments and maybe possible recommendations in terms of filling those positions, in terms of the types of folks, expertise that you're looking for, anything along those lines.
Well, if you all would be comfortable, what I can do is I can provide Marlene with the list that we had before of the different areas of expertise that would be nice to have, and ask her to send it out to everyone to stimulate your thoughts about some additional names. I have the names that most of you shared with me before, and I hesitate to just, without asking anybody, just publish their names broadly. But if you want to revisit any of those suggestions, please feel free. I can tell you that there have been people that were suggested that made application, and their applications were not accepted by the system. And it's not because of the application, it's because the system wasn't working in a way that allowed them to submit their application. And at least one of them has been pursuing it with the mayor's office to no effect. He's not getting a response back from the mayor's point person. So I think we are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive, and maybe a little bit more forthcoming with some specific suggestions. So if that's agreeable to you all, that would be my next step. Does anybody have any suggestions other than that? Okay, somebody's typing furiously. Is there going to be great conversation in the chat?
Well, I'd like to know how many people are currently on, and if there's any statistics or any knowledge about. It seems like it's been languishing. It like there's not interest in it or something.
Well, I think that there's certainly interest in the work that the commission does, but there has not been any interest in making appointments that we have. Maybe we should say any action in making appointments to the commission. And to be fair, just so that you all understand, the EMC is not the only commission of the city that is experiencing this difficulty. There are a number of commissions that have not been fully appointed. Is that a fair way to say it, Andy?
Yeah. I mean, if you consider the Climate Protection Steering Committee, it took them after we'd already started the new planning process. We were already in the midst of it, and then the mayor got to appointing some new folks to that committee. So
I think it's just something we're going to have to follow through on a little more aggressively if we're going to see any movement on it. So that would be my proposal.
How many people are on now, and how many people can be on? What's
a full membership would be
18 total, and you have 9, I believe it is.
Yeah, we have. Let's see. We have 8 vacancies. I think that's right. Yeah. Actually, we have one appointed person whose term is not expired. Carol Mackin, you need to wave your hand. We have one person who has been appointed by the new mayor, and the rest of us either are serving a expired term or there's a vacancy. So we're pretty much in dire straits when it comes to the makeup of the commission, which is why I'm raising this issue and why I think we need to just keep raising the issue and see if we can get something resolved. But I don't believe we're going to resolve anything today. So if you all will watch for my email, and if other names come to your mind, let me know. And I'm going to just feed all that information to Andy, and then when he gets a chance to talk to somebody in the mayor's office, he'll have that in hand. And is Michael Kelly, is it your hand that's up? I can't tell.
Yes.
Okay, would you please talk?
Yes. So I was just going to offer too, if we're going to continue to press along this, do we think that there might be any benefit in potentially trying to reach out to the leadership of some of the other boards and commissions? Because I mean, if the point is that we don't just want our commission to be filled, but we want all the commissions to be filled, then it would seem to me that trying to find a way to coordinate our outreach efforts to the mayor's office with the other boards and commissions might help us to sing more effectively from the same playbook. So
I think that's a really constructive idea. I don't know how we get the information for sure about what other commissions are not fully subscribed. Andy, do you have any information about that? I know the water department is having some difficulty getting
Yeah.
some appointments, but I am not privy to who else.
Yeah, I would have to reach out to the mayor's office. I don't have any direct specific information on that.
What we might do, though, is all of us keep our ear to the ground for any anecdotal information we can pick up on that. Like I said, the water department I know is having some difficulty.
I just have a comment on reaching out to the other boards. In general, I feel like so many people are overstretched that if they're on a commission, for them to serve on 2 or 3 might be more time than people have.
Well, let me see if I understood this correctly. What I was understanding from Michael was that perhaps if we aligned ourselves with other commissions that also had vacancies, not to suggest that the same people be appointed, but that action be taken.
Right.
So we get a little application of resources to the task of getting people appointed.
Yeah, like Caroline, I apologize for the confusion in my remarks. I did not mean to imply that everyone needs to pull double duty on the vacancies. Simply that trying to make sure that if it may be more impactful and it may get the mayor's attention more effectively if we're all kind of combining and kind of focusing our efforts in a specific type of way.
I do think we need to send a letter because that's a significant gap in commissioners, and we ought to. But if we can align that with other committees as well, that'd be great.
Yes, we did send a letter last month that had a couple of pieces of information in it. It had the information about the number of vacancies we had and the expiring terms and the type of people that were valuable serving on the commission and what the content of our charge is and what our origin was. I mean, it had all of that information and background in it, but that has had no effect. So I guess what we have to do is find another way to do it again, which is why we thought maybe suggesting a list of people would help, but we don't know. Jerry had his hand up.
Yeah, I was going to ask Andy a question. I was wondering if the information that you're looking for with regard to other boards and commissions would be maintained by the clerk's office and be publicly obtainable information.
Well, you would hope that it would be. I know that we provide an update on the appointments based on, we keep track of it, but It surprises me at times, sometimes that our records don't match their records, so we could certainly hope that those records are publicly available. And if someone submits a sunshine law request, you could see what you get.
Thank you.
Who would need to submit that request? Is that something that can be submitted by staff, or do you need it to come from somebody else? You need it to come
I could certainly request it without going through the formal channels, but anybody can do that. The city has a website for submitting sunshine law requests, and you just fill out the form and you submit what documents you're looking for, and it gets disseminated to the right departments and staff to respond to those. And they're not obligated to generate any documents. They're just they're obligated to provide documents that currently exist. So.
Well, what would be the most effective and still congenial way to make that request?
Well, Caroline, if you don't mind, I would like a little more time to try to work with the mayor's office on trying to get that information from them and to try to talk this through with them. Unfortunately, I've been off for the past week, so I'm still playing catch up, and I didn't have a lot of time to try to get with them to figure this out. So.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I can send that information to the commission, and you all can see if there are other people that come to mind, so that you would have a longer, more robust list to share. Does that sound like a good first step, Andy?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the state and federal legislative priorities. And I'm going to turn that over to Andy as well.
Oh, okay. I'm going to keep my camera off. My internet's a little sketchy right now, so I'm just hopefully this will work better. So every year the city kind of collects what it believes are the state and federal priorities for upcoming legislative sessions. For example, the state usually starts, when they get together in January. What the city does is we put together a list of priorities. It's kind of done in different ways. Typically, it'll go through the mayor's office. The mayor's office will take on the lead on collecting various comments, whether it's from commissions, whether it's from staff, wherever. They will usually then compile those legislative priorities, put together a resolution, usually one for the state legislative priorities and another one for federal. And then they take it through the legislative process in the city to basically adopt that resolution and those legislative priorities. So we have asked by the mayor's office to submit our thoughts, comments, suggestions for legislative priorities. I'm kind of offering an opportunity to the EMC to offer suggestions via our office to consider, for the mayor's office to consider, and we'd be happy to kind of forward those on to the mayor's office. I would say that if you have not had a chance to look at the documents we presented, typically there will be usually a few legislative priorities submitted related to climate action. There is at least one very strong recommendation to be supportive of climate action, whether it's mitigation, resiliency, or sequestration. So if you have a chance to look at the two documents we provided, you should be able to see that particular recommendation. And I would suspect we would continue with that same priority and recommendation for legislative priorities. But there are other ones that are submitted around affordable housing issues, weatherization or energy efficiency, those kinds of things. So anyhow, I have until the end of the week to submit recommendations to the mayor's office. And then from there, the mayor's office will come into a resolution based on what the mayor's thoughts are. And from there, it goes through the legislative process. They're actually starting this a little early, but they want to get this wrapped up before the end of the calendar year and have this to their lobbyists before the new sessions, whether it's state or federal. That's kind of the backstory to this. Kind of open it up to questions or just open it up to the EMC to throw out ideas if you have any.
Are we going to weigh in on the farm bill?
Actually, you can. That was one of the ones that was presented last year was on the farm bill. Let me look real quick here. I'll see if I can find it for you. Yeah, the farm bill, it's a federal legislative priority, was to support increased funding for the conservation programs contained in the 2018 Farm Bill, which should improve source water quality in various water bodies used by communities across the United States. So that was what was put in last year's legislative priority regarding the Farm Bill.
Is this the time to go deeper into that or not?
I don't see why not. What do you mean by go deeper?
Well, I mean, I didn't hear regenerative agriculture mentioned in that, and yet that's what seems to have the most. It's going to sequester carbon and it's going to put moisture in the ground. And the moisture can also interface with the climate, and so it's kind of low hanging fruit.
So, and the way this was organized, infrastructure. And so I suspect that I'm sorry, Marty.
I said you're cutting out. Or I'm cutting out. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
Andy's
me.
cutting
it's me.
out.
Sorry about that. I gotta reboot. Hold.
It only talks about water. It doesn't talk about carbon sequestration or any number of things that could be included in farm.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if, I don't know that I have the expertise because I'm a city boy to talk about the Farm Bill and even how, you know, I kind of know the general rules, but I don't know the specifics of how you move cattle in order to, you know, not eat too much grass and what kind of cover crops would use. And you know what I'm saying? There's a lot to know there, and we ought to have some farm person helping us. I don't know.
Okay, I missed your conversation, Marty, but I think I understand somewhat. You often talked about sequestration and in regards to the Farm Bill. I could probably work on some language to kind of change the context of last year's to something more in line with what the Farm Bill is looking like supporting this year or next year, I should say.
I think we need the input of a person who is actually doing it as a farmer, you know, to add some experience to it, so that we city folks can understand, you know, we can understand the principles once presented, but the devil's in the details or something like that. So that's what I'm thinking. I guess maybe we could find somebody that's within the city limits who's actually doing it. I don't know. I know Pal Gardens is starting a regenerative kind of program on their land up there, out there, east of here. You're muted.
Kansas City Farm School. And maybe we don't have this distinction between farming and urban farming. There are concerns for farmers and they're not 100% the same, but broaden what we consider farm support. Andy, right now it just talks about water quality. So there are lots of other things that farm support could be supporting.
Right. No, I understand.
And farmers are kind of locked in. They can't even get loans for regenerative ag because there's such a stranglehold by the chemical industry or whatever. I mean, you'd think everybody would be okay with this.
Michael Kelly had his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. I was just going to call on him as well.
Yeah. So just two things I see here. One thing that I would want to include with both the state and the federal priorities is more explicit language about supporting the needs of people living with disabilities. So their accessibility improvements, ADA improvements. I think that would probably fit best under the climate protection and resiliency, since there's already discussions of investing in pedestrian and bike infrastructure. And so that would be just one thing, and that language is in both the state and federal. So just expanding that language to say accessibility or investments for ADA improvements. And then the other thing is, if there is inclusion of explicit language around electric vehicles, being sure that we're explicitly saying electric vehicles includes electric cars, electric buses, electric bikes, so on and so forth. So.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to mention a couple of other things that I don't really know enough about. So maybe somebody else would have something to say, but I think that ethanol mandates are certainly a state and federal problem. And I don't know whether we want to say anything about that or not, but it certainly contributes to planting more corn and less other things. And the corn is water and pesticide and fertilizer intensive. And it doesn't really improve air quality. So what it basically does is I presumably boost the amount of renewable carbon-based resources. So, but that's something that would be controversial in Missouri, but it's still, there's a lot of things that are not good environmentally about mandating ethanol. And the other thing that's kind of current is they're going to be redrawing the flood maps and updating them. And I think that maybe we also ought to be rethinking how we ensure flood risk, and whether we ensure flood risk in a way that encourages rebuilding in flood-prone areas. So those are two things that come to mind.
Carol, you meant discouraging rebuilding in flood-prone areas?
Right, absolutely. I think that currently the way a lot of the insurance is structured, there's no money available until you flood, and then the money is primarily available for improvements right where you flooded.
I had a comment on this list. It's interesting. Way down at the bottom, number 11, there under neighborhoods, it has economic justice, but nowhere in here does it say anything about environmental justice. And that is being mandated across the board in all federal agencies. And it would probably fit under the climate protection, but I don't see it sort of in the verbiage there. So a thought on including economic justice.
Okay.
Okay, Andy, does that give you a start, and then we can ask people to continue to share their thoughts over the coming days?
Right. My suggestion would be, if you have specific language you want to propose, feel free to email it to me. I made note of everything you guys were talking about, plus we got the video recording. We'll be putting something together to share with the mayor's office here by Friday, so there's not a lot of time. So if you do have any other thoughts, suggestions, or language to propose, I would certainly appreciate that. But we'll put our list together and send it on, and we'll see what the mayor's office ends up going with it. All the departments are doing this, so we're just kind of it's never assured what gets accepted by the mayor's office, but we're going to take a shot at it.
Andy, question about the Missouri River Basin. Do you know more about, how that fits in this and how it's been supported in previous years?
I do not. I would have maybe Laura might be able to chime in on that. Usually the water department, I would think, would be more to say on that, but I don't have any information on that.
Sorry, I was reading the legislative priorities. What was the question, Molly?
It's about the Missouri River Basin and sort of what that entails and what we've done in the past, what's been done in the past.
From a water quality perspective?
Well, is it just about water quality?
I mean, it totally depends. I know Kansas City was involved long ago in the Missouri River degradation study that went on through Mid-America Regional Council. I know through the MS4 permit, we have to they have to submit information on what's going into the Missouri River, and that they've done watershed studies on all the watersheds that eventually end up there. But I don't know what else is. Are you asking to be made a legislative priority?
Well, yeah. I'm just someone who thinks we ought to keep track of what's going on in that watershed. It's really important for us.
Yeah, looking at last year's, it definitely, just looking at where it's placed among the other water issues, it was obviously kind of put in there by Casey Water originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an important one.
Well, and the multi-state compact in the basin with the Corps of Engineers controls really the reservoir levels upstream, which have a huge impact on the amount of water supply we have and the amount of flood protection we have going into the spring. So, I mean, it is sort of an enormous impact for us.
And I don't know how much control, sort of we have over it. I tend to think probably less at the city level.
Very much so, but we do have, we've always lobbied in the past. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know what's going on in the stormwater division over at Casey Water and who's still there that could advocate at the federal level for that stuff. But I mean, it has always been something we did in the past from a flooding perspective, from a water quality perspective, from a flow perspective for drinking water purposes. And I know Casey Water's had a good relationship with the Corps in the past.
We want to stay friends. Well, let's go to the Spire rate case. And poor Andy, this is you again.
Okay. All right. So a couple weeks ago, we had a resolution that was proposed. It was number 220861. And essentially what this is about is back in April of this year, Spire filed a request with the Missouri Public Service Commission to basically raise the rates, trying to generate a little more income. That, of course, comes on the heels of a rate increase that went into effect in December of 2021. So not even a year had passed and they had filed a increase to their rates. So the original rate increase in December of 21 was about $8.12 a month for Kansas City area residents. This particular increase is, I think, around $10 or $11 a month or on the rate for this next rate increase that they're asking for. So the resolution that was proposed, and the mayor's office got involved with this, was just to basically advocate for the city to take a position and to submit comment regarding the rate increase. So myself and the mayor's office went in front of council, kind of spoke about what the rate increase was about, and more or less it passed through the committee pretty easily, and went on to full council for their approval. So essentially they approved the resolution and basically are asking for us to take the lead in submitting a comment. So what Spire and various notices went out. If you're a Spire customer, you probably should have seen a comment letter or a letter that was sent to you giving you notice that this was going on and that you have an opportunity to submit comments on your own. So besides the city taking a formal stance, as a consumer, you are certainly welcome to do that as well. So the comment, they were offering various public hearings. The first was today, was the first one. We'll start about 6 o'clock. I believe that one's in St. Louis. And then tomorrow there is a virtual call-in opportunity. And then here in Kansas City, our opportunity will be October 18th. It'll be an in-person meeting at the Greg Kleiss Community Center. And the way I understand that particular meeting is it's partly a opportunity for the consumers to meet Spire and ask specific questions of Spire. And then after the first part of that meeting is over, and then the Public Service Commission representatives will come into the room and you'd be able to offer formal comment that way. So that one, 6 p.m. on October 18th. So for our office, what we're in the process of doing is putting together at least a formal comment letter on behalf of the city. We're still discussing how will actually attend that particular meeting. But that is basically the whole issue right now is this latest rate increase that they're asking for, and is it justified? So Laura's been doing a great job in researching, and we've been talking with some folks at the state who's been giving us some insight into some information about this. So just wanted to put it on your radar that you as consumers or customers of Spire can certainly provide comment and or attend one of these information sessions.
It's my understanding that this rate increase is on the monthly cost of service side of the bill. Yes. And so there still could be additional adjustments based on cost of fuel.
Correct. Yeah, that's the thing, is the fuel, Spire can't control that. That'll just be whatever the price is on the market. Expected to probably come about in December or so. And I've seen there have been some news reports that could be upwards of 30%. So any questions or?
Is there an equity adjustment for this?
I don't see any such equity adjustment, at least in what I've read.
They were pretty unpopular the last round.
Andy, what would be helpful to you?
Well, I don't know that this is an ask necessarily. We've got our marching orders from the mayor's office and from the council. So we've already have a draft of a comment letter put together. It's a matter of whether the commission wants to do something on their own and, put together a letter to approve as a commission to submit on behalf of the EMC, or whether, as individuals. I mean, this is partially just informational. It's just a matter of letting everybody know that this is an opportunity that either as consumers and or as the EMC, you can comment on this.
Do any of commissioners have strong feelings
And
about what we?
as far as an official stance on this rate increase,
Okay, Andy, I think we're just going to let you proceed. I'm trying to look and see. Okay. In that case, let's go ahead and talk about the 2021 building energy codes. And I guess I can tell you a little bit. Andy's vote on this again tomorrow. Is that correct? Tomorrow is the day?
Yep.
And at this point, it is super, it's a toss-up, right? It's a very, very close vote. And so I drafted another letter. It has no new information in it. It just reiterates the things that we've said before, but in a very short and pointed way, so that it's just really a quick reminder that we feel like the long-term benefits of energy efficiency outweigh the interests of short-term profits. Would that be a careful consideration? Do you have that letter that you could share it on your screen so people could see it? Would you do that for me?
Yep, Marlene's got that.
So I'm not thinking this is new policy for us, but I was hoping that you all would be comfortable with me sending it first thing in the morning.
Can you make it a little bigger, Marlene? Thank you.
It disappeared from my screen. Do you all, the rest of you still have it?
No.
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 There it is.
Okay.
Should we send it today, given the votes tomorrow?
We'll send it first thing in the morning. I mean, it's sending it today, as I think.
Mm-hmm.
The day's almost over, right?
Yeah. I mean, do we need to make a formal motion on moving this forward? Because
I don't think so, because there's nothing new in this note.
Okay.
If you all would feel more comfortable making a motion, that's fine, but there's nothing on this in this letter that we haven't said before and with more detail.
Right.
But it just seems like we need to be pretty pointed at this juncture.
Yeah. So if we, I'll take guidance from staff if they think we do need to take a formal motion, but I mean, I'm fine with this language. So.
I mean, I would think, I mean, I kind of agree with Carol. It's probably not necessary, but as long as you have quorum, I don't see what the harm would be to just go through a formal approval of this letter. Yeah, I would just do it just to formalize it.
Understood. So I know I'll let Scott speak because I know he has his hand up. So yeah.
Okay, I think I'm just going to say what you all have already said, but thanks, Carol, for this. I like this really short, succinct draft. I especially like the last sentence there: long-term energy cost savings over short-term construction savings. And that I'm totally fine with that. If we wanted to say something additional about how the energy costs are high, and I mean, to me, it's only going to make it better to do this. So those are my only thoughts.
Can I have a motion to just go ahead and send this as is? And
this is Michael Kelly. I'll make that motion.
And a second? Okay.
I second.
Molly, is there any discussion?
This is Carol Mackin. I just need to abstain.
Okay. Please note that in the minutes. And for our vote, we do, if we note the one abstention, are there any negative votes? Okay, I'll assume the rest of you are okay. All right.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and send it first thing in the morning.
Thank you, Carol.
The next thing is the environmental quality, the Office of Environmental Quality Report. Andy,
Okay.
again.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of new stuff to share yet. We're still kind of, I'll start with Solarize Kansas City. Solarize Kansas City, this is kind of an important month for that campaign. If the enrollment period for that actually ends this month, at the end of the month. So if there's anybody out there that you think may have any interest in solar, whether it's residential, commercial, or nonprofits, certainly encourage them to go to the website and fill out the enrollment form. There's no cost to that. Just kind of gets your name into the program and locks you into the pricing that we have, which is at the lowest tiered pricing right now for the program. So currently where we're at, we have over 600, about 605 enrollments. We have over 60 contracts in place with primarily residential. We've got a couple of commercial and a couple of nonprofits we're still talking with, trying to negotiate those out. But yeah, it comes right now, we're at about 0.5 megawatt of energy through the solar panels is what we're at right now, which is our lowest tiered pricing. Installations are just now starting. Our installer had to kind of get through the backlog of projects that they had with their previous customers, and now they're working through our customers. So milestones right now is sign up before the end of the month. Also, if there's any low income families that you may think would be good candidates for this program, we do have a low income component to the program called Share the Sun. And it's the sign up for that is on the same website, and we'll be qualifying any families that enroll through that program to see if we can subsidize their solar systems 100%. And the solar system would be a 5 kilowatt system is what we're offering for low income families, but for a lot of folks that could be at least half or more of their energy usage on electricity. So milestones for that is enroll this month by the end of the month, and then you have until the end of December to actually decide to contract. And if you're a commercial entity or a nonprofit, you actually have until March of next year to contract. So once enrollment closes, then the coalition will be working with those that have enrolled. We'll be reaching out in more detail, just kind of troubleshooting and just having a lot more conversations and a little more personal attention than we've been able to give at this point, as we've been focusing more on enrollments at this point. So Solarize, so that's where we are with Solarize, going pretty good. So no complaints there. Internally, I guess I should ask you, are there any questions before I move on? Okay. Yeah, if there's any homes associations or any groups like that, we can still come out and do presentations. We're still doing some of that already. So certainly reach out in your networks if you have the time. Internally, just I know several of you knew that we had some vacancies in our office. We've had 2 vacancies now. Of course, we've been struggling without Jerry, so have not been able to fill his position. So we have done interviews though. Happy to report we've completed some interviews for the position, and it's looking pretty good. Looks like we will probably have somebody joining us for the next commission meeting. I'm not going to make any formal announcements yet, but I would say looking like Laura's going to have some help before too long, so that's great. The second position is the analyst position that we have. That's the person that kind of oversees our benchmarking program, helps us with our greenhouse gas inventories. Chris Hayes, who was the previous analyst, took a promotion in the water department. So we were happy for him, happy and sad all in one, but that position was posted. We do have a list of candidates, and we are actually doing interviews this week for that as well. So hopefully before the next meeting, Laura will have more staff to help with all of our efforts here. So wish us luck. Budget requests went in from our office. Those were submitted a week ago. And we shall see. In our budget requests, there were 2 position requests. So what we'll be asking for is when the city starts doing public meetings or public hearings on the city's budget, anything you can do and or as a commission to support our office's budget in regards to supporting climate action, which should be primarily the budget the 2 position requests that we have in there. That would be appreciated. Let me think what else. Laura, feel free to jump in if there's anything else. We're still working on our building performance standards policy. Consuela has been working with, or at least looking at other cities, talking to other cities. I know Laura and Consuela have been reaching out and kind of talking about how other cities do their building performance standards and how they build out those policies. So work is still progressing on that, and we don't have any major milestones to report on that necessarily at this point, but that's on the list there to do. Also, the and Marty, this applies to you. Now that the climate plan is done, I did send out an email about this. The native landscaping group is anxious to get going back on our ordinance. So I've got some staff helping me with that now to try to get a draft put together to share with our committee, so that we can try to get that ordinance wrapped up before the next spring season. And that hopefully will give us enough time to get the ordinance passed and do some training for our inspectors and all that. So hopefully we'll get something out here this month to our group to kind of deliberate on and fine tune before we take that to council. So, and there's lots of other activities associated with that. So I'll just kind of sideline that for now, but I know there's some side topics associated with the ordinance that we'll need to address and tackle as well. So, Laura, anything you want to report on the climate plan activities associated with that?
Just that we're moving forward. Right now, a lot of effort on the climate planning side is kind of involved with finding grants, looking at what grants are out there, partnering on grants. There's a lot of grant stuff going on right now. So a lot of talks with other departments. And I'm also, one thing I did want to mention, I'm getting a lot of folks sending me, hey, look at this grant. What could we do? Which is kind of cool. But I get about 3 to 6 of those a day on what could we do. So if you see a grant you're interested in doing something, then maybe if you could reach out and say, hey, Laura, here's this grant. This is what I would like to do. How can the city support? That would be so much better. So I'm all about helping support. But those meetings they're taking up a lot of time. And so it'd be best if people have ideas going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, we just recently had an organization that we just found out was awarded a Partners for Places grant. And it was more or less, they took the lead. They say, hey, here's our idea, here's our project, but we need you guys on board. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. We'll partner with you, but you're taking the lead on this. And sure enough, they got the grant and we're going to help support. But I agree with Laura that, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but we need more help, people taking the lead, and we'll support as much as we can.
Yeah, and
every federal agency now has an EJ requirement component, and they are all scrambling and putting out grants. It's
Yes.
astounding.
All at once. And that is another piece of it. If you have a grant and you need a letter of support, I will prioritize those at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. in the morning just to get them done. I think it's super important that we partner, and I will happily show you, how it connects to the climate plan. I will do all that work for you as long as you just say, hey, this is the grant we want. It's going to be climate related, or even if it's not, it's going to do good things for the climate. I will take the time to do that letter of support and do that research on my end, as long as you guys are running with it.
Okay. Wonderful.
And there's just on that note, there's a couple of grants coming down the pike. I can't really talk about stuff yet, but there are good things happening.
Okay. Laura, did you have anything else to share?
I'm looking through my stuff, but I'll remember about the time the meeting's over.
Okay. Yeah. We're kind of in a period, I would say it's just kind of, we're just triaging things at this point until we get some fresh staff in to help us out. So,
I
and
do have one more thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing that's going on, because Carol had said I needed to say something about that, is tomorrow night is the U.S. Green Building Council Central Plains Women in Green event. I will be one of the panelists, as well as Keisha Smith from Bridging the Gap,
Pippa.
and Sarah Greenwood from Greenwood Consulting. It's a good panel of folks. So if it's mainly a women's event, I know there are some guys that have registered and are showing up, but it's mainly kind of a women's empowerment sort of thing. Get together, learn from other women, and then afterwards there's like a big brainstorming session on how we can move forward with different actions to support green work in Kansas City. So if anybody's interested, I put the link in chat.
Thank you, Laura. And I would kind of related to the climate plan, and this has kind of refreshed my memory a little bit about some things. We've been getting a lot of news pieces that have been popping up on the climate plan, and very supportive stuff. So from various sources, but it's interesting how it's reaching various other organizations that we maybe had not connected with before. So I've been having specific conversations with various groups about the climate plan that heard about it through whether it was a news piece, or as I've been asked to do various presentations on the solar programs, whether it's the airport or the zoo, or not the zoo, sorry about that. That's part of a different presentation. But whether it's the solar array at the airport or the Solarize Kansas City, as part of that, we talk about renewable energy and the climate plan, and that stimulates their thoughts about what else can they do, what can they be involved with. So it's really been kind of interesting to see the interest that a lot of these things are sparking in the climate plan. So with that, we're working on a presentation to offer groups that have an interest in knowing more about the plan. One of the first groups we'll be presenting to next month is the Kansas Industrial Council. They have some concerns about the plan and/or questions. So myself and Kristen with Bridging the Gap will be presenting the climate plan to that group of folks. But I think the intention is that we'll have a canned presentation that we'll have available for groups that may want to know more about the climate plan. So whether it's OEQ presenting or someone from the steering committee, we'll have that available. So just want to make you all aware that that's a part of our outreach plan, I suppose, put it that way. And being that I just talking about the solar at the airport, if you were not aware, we did complete the feasibility study on that. We started with 3,000 acres is what the feasibility study looked at on the west side of the airport. And essentially the feasibility study kind of pares it down to about half that in terms of land that would have the minimal amount of issues to contend with to put solar on it. To try to minimize costs, of course, but to minimize risk to various environmental issues. Could be topography wasn't quite right. Could have been a lot of different factors. So anyhow, if you don't know, the city has issued a request for proposals. So that is out on the street right now. And so we're looking for a developer, someone who can design, build essentially a phase one of this project, which is about 35 acres. So we're looking for somebody to build it, design it, operate it. What it is, whether it's community solar or it feeds the city's need at the airport, still questions to be had. We still have many conversations to have between us, Evergy, the Southwest Power Pool, the project proposals. So more to come, but the proposals, the RFPs are due in January of next year. So we have a few months to go before we actually have something to look at. So, okay. I think we got it all out now.
His hand's been up for a while.
Yeah, Scott has his hand up.
Sure. So a couple things there. I guess, Andy, is there more that describes I guess you're saying that the RFPs would come out in January for that?
No, the RFP is out now.
Oh, okay. And
yeah.
where would I see that at?
I can put a link in the chat to it. The city has a portal where they post that kind of information for people on those projects. It's Bonfire is the system that they're using to kind of collect those RFPs, but I can get you that information if you want to look at it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I originally raised my hand for just asking, maybe I've missed, was the final version of the CPRP ever made public?
Laura, do you want to field that one?
The final version of the plan is up with one exception. So we have the final interactive version of the plan is online at the link I just put in there. All of the links to the plan can be found at kcmo.gov/climate, which is our shortcut to our OEQ climate webpage. We've got the final document and all of its all the appendices on our page at the bottom. The only thing missing is the print version of the plan. And I think I don't know if I said it last time to this group, but I know I had to say it at this Climate Protection Steering Committee. We had to get the links to the plan up on the website before we could put the links in the final plan to link to the appendices. So it's kind of been a chicken and egg sort of thing we've been running around with, but Brenda will have the remainder of the print version of the plan is the last thing left, and it will be out by Friday, is what I heard last. Everything else is up.
Oh, okay. Great.
Are we ready to move on? Are there any liaison reports? Okay. Any old business to come before the commission? Or new business to come before the commission? And the next thing is remarks from visitors, but you're going to get one remark from me first. And it's just something that I thought perhaps we could all take an interest in. As a result of the war in Ukraine, Europe is facing some energy emergencies. And it looks to me like, particularly if you kind of follow the news, it's pushing them to look at how they can innovate within the parameters of their existing natural gas infrastructure. And I think it's going to be instructive to all of us to see what they come up with. But it sounds like they're really pushing the envelope on being creative and looking at new technologies and looking at hydrogen and all kinds of things. So maybe a outcome of the hardship that they're facing right now will be to accelerate ideas for making that system, converting it to something that works better. So that's my only comment. Does anybody else have a comment? Any visitors like to speak? Any commissioners have something that you'd like to say? Marty? Marty, are you muted?
You can unmute.
You can't unmute. Okay, just a minute. Now try. I don't know. I don't know why you can't unmute.
That's terrible, Marty.
Teams has finally just shut Marty down.
We could try and guess what he's going to talk about.
Charades, Marty. Rain.
Rain, soil, compost.
Falling leaves.
The leaves for the Johnson Sioux compost and the neighborhood. Marty's collecting leaves for the Johnson Sioux. And you've sent out a notice to the neighborhood.
I did get that notice as well, Marty.
My leaves are not
That's
falling.
amazing. That's amazing that we got that.
Best EMC meeting ever.
Ending in charades.
Help.
Yeah, we have a very talented group.
So
We
help
just
Marty
know
in finding leaves.
What Marty's looking for.
If there's no further business to come before the commission, we can adjourn until next month. But you'll be hearing from me a little bit about appointments and certainly provide any additional comments and ideas to Andy about the legislative priorities and other things that you have on your mind.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no objection, we will adjourn.
It's great to see everybody.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.